So let's just go ahead and get started here. So the author says, Kitabul Siyam, the book of abstinence. Yani fasting means abstinence. The book of fasting is advanced ahead of the book of pilgrimage, meaning in the books of fiqh. First is going to be purification and then prayer. Although prayer is more important, yani prayer itself is more important, but you need purification for prayer. So they put the purification chapter first, then prayer, then zakah, then fasting, then hajj. So the book of fasting is advanced ahead of the book of pilgrimage in the books of fiqh. Yani book here means a segment of a larger book. The book of fasting within the books of fiqh basically means chapter, is advanced ahead of the book of pilgrimage because it is greater. Fasting Ramadan is greater than pilgrimage and an observance of the order mentioned in Gabriel's hadith. What's their order in Gabriel's hadith? Buni al-Islamu ala khams. Islam was built on 5 things. Shahadati an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. The testimony that no one is God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Wa iqami salah, wa ita'i zakah, wa sawmi Ramadan, wa hajjil bayt. And observing the prayer, paying the zakah, fasting Ramadan, and the mission to the house, which is the Kaaba. In our law, fasting is defined as, and this is Shafi'i school, abstaining with an intention from any mufattir throughout the daytime of a day accepting of the abstinence. So abstaining, that means refraining. So fasting is an abstinence with an intention from any mufattir. Mufattir means something that breaks the fast. Anything that terminates the fast. So we're not just going to say food. Yani, a fast breaker, a fast invalidator, from any fast invalidator, if we want to put English words there. Throughout the daytime, so abstaining throughout the daytime, that means from dawn until sunset, of a day accepting of the abstinence. Yani, you can't fast in the nighttime, so it's going to be throughout the daytime of a day that accepts fasting. So not Eid, for example, that day doesn't accept fasting. It was also defined as a way of abstention. That means a kind of abstention under conditions done at a specific time, daytime, by a person with specific qualities, such as being Muslim and other qualities. We'll see. So a way of abstention under conditions done at a specific time by a person with specific qualities. Al-Basir said, so this is the third definition, fasting is a type of abstention. Fasting is a type of abstention with a specific intention from any mufattir, from any fast invalidator, throughout an entire daytime, from dawn until sunset, an entire daytime that accepts the abstinence, not like Eid, for example. Performed by, this abstinence is performed by a pubescent, sane Muslim, pure from menses and postpartum bleeding. As for putting pubescent in there, that's because he wants to talk about an obligatory fast. It was made obligatory in the month of Sha'ban, in the second year after the migration. So just the month before Ramadan, they got the revelation that they're going to have to fast Ramadan. This obligation is confirmed in the book, the Sunnah, and the consensus. The four integrals of fasting. The integral is the thing that, or those things that make up the actual reality of the thing. So, what are the integrals of wudu? The intention, washing the face, washing the arms, wiping the head, washing the feet. So, that is the wudu. What are the integrals of the prayer? The intention, the takbir, the standing, the recitation of Al-Fatiha, bowing and standing, and etc. That is the prayer itself. Those are the integrals of the prayer. Now, what are the integrals of the fasting? One of them is the person himself. There are conditions. So, but really quick, let's see. Let me just list them for you. The person himself. So it says, Al-Basir said, as the author of Al-Anwar said, fasting has four integrals. Al-Basir, he's one of the explainers of Abu Shuja. He said, fasting has four integrals. A person, what else? An intention, a daytime, and what? An abstention. A person, an intention, a daytime, and an abstention. So according to that, those are the things that make up the actual reality of the fasting. So let's see what details we have here. There are conditions that make one obligated to fast. So we want to talk about the person first. A, being a Muslim. Its details are like those of the prayer and the zakah. Meaning, what about the kafir? So it's like you learned about concerning the kafir. It is not permissible to assist a non-Muslim to do what terminates a fast during the daytime. Very important here. It is not permissible to assist a non-Muslim to do what terminates a fast during the daytime. So you're going to have to watch out for that if you work in fast food or healthcare. Now, if you don't know, you don't know. And you don't have to search. Like if you sell food, you have a stand or whatever, a truck or the likes, restaurant. You don't have to ask him, are you going to eat this food before the sun goes down? You don't have to ask. So you can just sell it to them. But if they tell you, oh man, I can't wait for you to make this meal for me so I can eat it right now before the sun goes down, then you can't help him. Just like you can't sell grapes to someone who's going to use them to make wine. It is not permissible to assist a non-Muslim to do what terminates a fast during the daytime. Despite that fasting on a state of blasphemy is invalid. Yani, even though had he fasted, it would have not been valid. But still, you can't help him eat during the daytime. Some weak people try to argue with this, so don't let any person say what's wrong here. A person who wants to justify his wrongdoings. Saying that mental discerning is a condition is better than saying sanity is a condition. So in some books it would say sanity is a condition, but saying mental discerning is better than saying sanity. Why? Because, yeah, because sanity versus insanity implies something. Mental discerning versus lacking mental discerning means something else too. Like if you have a little baby who didn't reach mental discerning yet, or a child, 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, this child hasn't reached mental discerning yet, let's say. Also, a crazy person doesn't have mental discerning. So what's the difference between these? But this little child's not crazy though. So saying mental discerning is better than saying sanity. But in some of the books, they'll say sanity is a condition. Mental discerning is a condition. It's just a better word choice. The witless drunkard, the madman, and anyone who fainted from before dawn until after sunset are not required to fast. Witless drunkard, what does that mean? That means a person who went crazy because of drinking. His intoxication rendered him insane. A witless drunkard. He has no wits. That means he's crazy. but because of drinking, not because of something else, or because of yani, something that he consumed that takes his mind away. Something that he consumed that takes his mind away. That's what's meant here. And the madman, that means insane person. But it's not going to be because he consumed something. He might be born like that. Or maybe he was in an accident. Or maybe he took some drugs that made him lose his mind. Then he stopped being high, but he never became sane again. Now he's crazy. He's sober, but he's crazy. And anyone who fainted from before dawn until after sunset. If you, Yani, that's basically saying he's in a coma. He fainted from before dawn until after sunset. He's not, these are not requested to fast. Saying they're not requested to fast means that, excused, let me check something there. C, fasting is not obligatory on the child. That's clear, we know about that. The child that has not reached puberty. Yani, when we say child, that's going to usually mean, in our religious context, didn't reach puberty, prepubescent. But the fasting is valid after mental discerning. He's ordered to fast at 7 years old if he has discerning, meaning it's obligatory on his guardians to order him to fast, him or her, if he has mental discerning and can withstand fasting. And this child would be spanked at 10 if he does not fast. If that benefits him, and the meaning of that benefiting him means makes him fast. If spanking him makes him fast, then he will be spanked because that helps him. But if it doesn't make him fast, then he wouldn't be spanked because there's no benefit in it. And if you spank your child, spank them for the sake of Allah, for the sake of Allah. If you spank your child for the sake of Allah. Don't spank your child because you're personally angry. That's an advice for you. D, the condition of the ability to fast is missing from some copies of Abu Shuja. So the ability to fast is a condition that needs to exist in the person. So you see all these conditions for the fasting person, that he's Muslim with mental, discerning, pubescent as far as the obligation is concerned, and able-bodied, able to fast. Inability is physical or religious. So who's not able to fast? Not able to fast, firstly, breaks into two cases. Either because of a physical disability or a religious disability. The first, that's physical disability, has two cases by consensus. By consensus, there's two physical disabilities concerning fasting. Being sick and being elderly. So the unbearably sick, who might hope for cure, he doesn't have to fast. Or he might not hope for cure. He doesn't have to fast while sick. But why we made a difference between them, if he hopes to recover or doesn't hope to recover. Because if he hopes to recover and he doesn't fast because he's sick, he's going to have to make his fast up later because he hoped to recover and then he recovered. So now he has to make up his fasting before next Ramadan. But if he doesn't have any hope to recover, then why he's going to make up his fast? He doesn't have to make up his fast. But he has to do something else. We'll talk about it when we get there, inshallah. Just know for now that the sick one doesn't have to fast. Unbearably sick, that is. He doesn't have to fast. And he might hope to recover or he might not. He might be hopeless of recovery. If he's hopeful of recovery, he would be obligated to make up the fasting later. And the other case of physical disability when it comes to fasting is being elderly. And the elderly person is not going to have to make up the fast. The elderly person who doesn't fast because of being old. The elderly person is like a person who's sick and has no hope to recover. Because the elderly person doesn't hope to get young again. So this elderly person's not going to have to make it up later if he doesn't fast any days. This elderly person's going to be like the one who's sick and has no hope for recovery. Not going to have to make it up later. And similar to the sick are the pregnant and nursing women who fear for themselves and or their babies. Similar to what type of sick person? The pregnant and nursing women are similar to what types of sick people? The sick people who hope to recover. They aren't sick, they're similar to the sick. So allows them, their case of pregnancy or nursing allows them to break their fast like a sick person. Yani, when it comes to breaking the fast, they're most similar to sick people. They might be afraid for themselves, not their babies, or they might be even afraid for their babies and not themselves, or both. So that's why it says and or. They fear for themselves and or their babies. Then they can break the fast. And the other type of disability from fasting is a religious one. What's the religious disability from fasting? Menstrual and postpartum bleeding. Because she could physically fast, outwardly that is, while she's menstruating. Okay. And then there's another condition for the fasting person, residence at dawn. Yani, residence at dawn means you're not a traveler at dawn. You are a resident when dawn came in, then you need to fast that day. But if at dawn one were a traveler of a long permissible journey, that permits shortening the fourfold prayers, he may break the fast. If at dawn one were a traveler of a long journey. Long journey means a journey that allows shortening the fourfold prayers, 4 rakat prayers. The famous saying in the Shafi'i school is that that's a 2-day walking distance. That doesn't mean that you need to walk for 2 days. Maybe if you rode a car, you'll get there in an hour. But if you were to walk, it would take you 2 days. It doesn't matter how fast it really takes you to get there. What matters is the distance. So this distance allows you to shorten your 4 rakat prayers to 2 rakats. So if you're a traveler at dawn of a long journey, which means a shortening distance, and it's a permissible journey, that means that the trip itself is not for a sin. The trip is for something permissible. Even if the person sinned while traveling, not though traveled for the sin. They didn't travel for the sin. Rather, they sinned while traveling. That's different. Then this person retains all of his permissions of a traveler. And you should know, and this is very useful, if someone did travel sinfully, meaning the travel was for a sin, but repented while on the road, then at the time of repenting, one does gain his traveling permissions. So it's not a condition that you have to start. It's just a condition that you need to be a traveler. So if a person were a new Muslim and he's on the road, and while he's on the road, he embraced Islam. So in the middle of his trip, he repented from a sin, which is blasphemy in particular, though. In the middle of his journey, he repented from a sin. Then he will get all of his, at that time of repenting from his sin, he will get all of the permissions of a traveler. So that's similar to a person who's already a Muslim. If he happened to travel for a sin, but repented while still traveling, then all the permissions of a traveler will be reinstated, including not fasting and not going to Jumu'ah and any other rules like that. So residence at dawn is a condition for this fasting person. If at dawn one were a traveler of a long permissible journey that permits shortening the fourfold prayers, he may break the fast, even if he intended at night. This is especially, Yani, if it's obligatory fast, means he needs to have intended at night, according to Ash-Shafi'i. but could be that he intended at night without being obligated. Like, let's say the person's a traveler. He's on the road for a few days. So Maghrib came in and he's a traveler. So he might intend to fast the next day at nighttime. Still, despite this intention that he made at nighttime, since he's a traveler, he can actually change his mind and break his fast. So even if he intended at night, he still has permission to break his fast as a traveler. And without any harm. That's not a condition. It's just a condition that he went the distance, not a condition that the journey is difficult. Because the facilitating reason is existence, which is to travel. The travel is existent and confirmed, so he has these permissions. If one is unharmed by fasting, but he fears weakness, the traveler we're talking about here, that should be clear for you. You got lost right there and thought we're not talking about the traveler means you need to work on your focus. So if he is unharmed by fasting, that means the traveling person. But he fears weakness, and it were a travel for Hajj or battle, then breaking is better, so that he can energize himself. The best is to fast if unharmed by traveling, or else breaking is better. If you are harmed by traveling while fasting, then breaking is better. Now, if the traveler became a resident or a sick person were cured while fasting, it is forbidden for him to break, according to what is correct. Yani, a traveler was fasting as a traveler, having the permission to break his fast at any time during his travel. And then he, in the middle of the day, resided in a town. He settled. He broke his journey. He ended it. So, what about the rest of this day, though, until Maghrib comes in? This person still has the permission to eat and drink, etc. Even though he ended his travel, he got back in town, but he already broke his fast. That's the meaning. If I didn't say that, we're saying he already broke his fast. If he already broke his fast, then he resided, he continued to eat and drink. He can continue to eat and drink during that daytime. If he became a resident or he became cured while fasting, then he has to continue. It is forbidden to break according to what is correct, because the reason that permits breaking is gone. Any question? So that's what we have for the fasting person. What are his conditions here? We have here 5 conditions: being a Muslim, having mental discerning, being pubescent for it to be obligatory, and ability to fast, and residence at dawn. Maybe we'll do one more here. The second integral of fasting is a heart's intention. Due to the difficulty of pinpointing the exact moment of dawn, one is allowed, and in fact obligated, to intend before commencement. This is the case that's an exception to the normal rule of intending for worships. In the Shafi'i school, you need to intend when you commence the deed, but except fasting. Fasting, you need to intend in the night for an obligatory fast. For an obligatory fast, you need to intend at night. And you're used to the way I'm talking to you now. So when I say an obligatory fast, I didn't say for Ramadan, I said an obligatory fast. You need to intend at night. Don't even try to make your intention at the break of dawn. But if it's a sunnah fast, doesn't have to be only at night. Let's see. Can we make an intention on the first night of Ramadan for the whole month? Not according to Ash-Shafi'i. But are there other sayings? Maybe we'll see when we get there. But according to Ash-Shafi'i, the answer is no. So the intention's valid time depends on the fast being obligatory or not. So if it is obligatory, when do you intend? Then one must not merely intend an obligatory fast, first of all. He has an obligatory fast to perform. Can he say in his intention at nighttime, I intend to fast an obligation? That's inadequate unless you don't know the reason. Unless the person, all he knows is that he does have an obligatory fast and he forgot why, then he is forced to intend merely fasting an obligation. But if he remembers what the obligation is, then he must specify in his intention the obligation of Ramadan or the obligation of fulfilling a vow. Yani he pledged to fast. Maybe pledge is a better word than vow. Or he has to fulfill an expiation, like he murdered someone. So he has to fast. So he would intend that night, now I fast, or tomorrow I fast. Now I intend to fast for my obligatory expiation. Now I intend, now I intend to fast tomorrow for fulfilling my pledge to fast. Or a makeup only at night, this intention, if it's obligatory, which is what we're talking about here. This whole A is for obligatory. So an intention in the daytime is invalid. Without doubting if dawn came in, for then his intention is too weak. If his heart is conflicted because he's doubting, is Fajr in or not, then right there, while that heart is conflicted, you can't have a valid intention because the intention is too weak. You need to have firm intention. So determine that Fajr didn't come in so that you can have firm resolve and intend, or if Fajr came in and khalas, you missed it. And you're going to have to try another day. If one ate a pre-dawn meal to fast, or he drank to prevent thirst during the day. So meaning one ate a pre-dawn meal. That means what's meant here is one ate a meal recognizing that this is the pre-dawn meal. That's enough to intend fasting. His recognition of that meal being his pre-dawn meal, that's enough to confirm his intention for fasting. Or he drank to prevent thirst during the day. So that's his goal in drinking. That's what's in his heart in drinking. He says, I want to drink so I won't get thirsty in the daytime. That's enough to confirm his intention for fasting. Or he refrained from a mufattir, a fast invalidator, for fear of the dawn. Yani, he was in the night. And then he wanted to do something that would break a fast. And then he thought twice. He was afraid. He said, is it dawn? So he refrained from something that breaks the fast because of observing dawn or waiting for dawn or being concerned that dawn is in. Then uh, this abstinence here is enough to establish your intention for fasting the next day. This is an intention, all of that. Changing the intention at night invalidates it, not in the daytime. If it's in the daytime and you're already fasting, and then you said, now I intend to stop fasting, this intention will not break your fast. You're still fasting, as long as you haven't committed an actual fast invalidator. So then here, fasting is different from prayer. That's why qiyas is a job of mujtahid, not a job of someone else. Because you might assume that what's true for fasting is true for the what's you might assume that what's true for the prayer is true for fasting. If I change my intention in the middle of my prayer will be invalidated. But if you change your intention in the middle of the daytime for fasting, your fast will not be invalidated. Changing the intention at night invalidates the intention, not in the daytime. So if you were indecisive at night, then you need to make a firm intention before the dawn comes in. And merely deciding to break one's fast after stopping does not interrupt the fast. So for these cases, the person would still have to intend for the sake of Ramadan. For example, I'm eating suhoor because of Ramadan. As simple as I mentioned for you, because it means the same thing really. It's just that part for the sake of Ramadan or for the occasion of Ramadan, It's built in. When he wanted to eat that pre-dawn meal, why is he eating the pre-dawn meal? So it's there already. I mean, but still the words are broad though. It's not restricted to Ramadan, or if it's outside of Ramadan. You want to make up a fast, or you want to fulfill a pledge. And then at nighttime, you ate the pre-dawn meal. It's not yani something else, not saying you just had a midnight snack. No. Talk about pre-dawn meal. So that meal, because it's a pre-dawn meal, that means you're intending to fast. So changing the intention at night invalidates the intention. But merely deciding to break the fast after starting does not invalidate the fast. And apostasy at night after intending requires returning to Islam and remaking the intention. The minimum valid intention for fasting Ramadan is what means I intend to fast the obligation tomorrow. And it's Ramadan, so that's what he means. And never forget, the intention takes place in an instant. Yani, it can take place in an instant. You don't have to prepare yourself to envision words going across your heart like you're looking at a neon sign, reading the words. The excellent intention in the heart is I intend to fast tomorrow to fulfill the obligation of Ramadan this year for the sake of Allah. One must have an intention for every day. So there's answer to a question that came. Not on the first night for the entire month as opposed to the Maliki school. That's Maliki school. Intending on the first night for the entire month. One has to have an intention every day because every day is an independent worship. Each day you break your fast, and so you need a new intention. According to Ash-Shafi'i, it's not enough for you to, when Maghrib comes in, to eat food and then the next day you don't make a new intention because you broke your fast. You're not fasting now. You need to make a new intention. According to Ash-Shafi'i, when you break your fast at Maghrib, that's like saying your salam for your prayer. So when you start a new prayer, don't you need to say Allahu Akbar with a new intention for the next prayer? Yes. Same thing. So when you make your intention, Yani, when you eat at night, you need to make a new intention at night for the next day. That's the Shafi'i school. And tomorrow, it means the next day. Yani, the day that's coming. I mean, yeah. Now, if the fast is not obligatory, then one can intend without specifying which sunnah it is. He doesn't have to say in his heart, now I fast the sunnah of Ashura. Now I fast the sunnah of such and such. Now, if the fast is not an obligatory one, this is B. If not, Yani, if it's not obligatory, then one can intend without specifying which sunnah it is before the sun declines westward from its zenith. That means before dhuhr. If it's not an obligatory fast and you didn't intend in the night and it's still morning, the sun didn't reach its zenith, then you can make your intention to fast the sunnah fast before the sun comes out of its zenith. As long as you didn't do something that breaks a fast. Before the sun declines westward from its zenith, if he did not engage in a mufaqtir. Yeah, as long as the person didn't do anything that would break a fast. And we'll stop there. Wallahu a'lam. Do you have any question I can answer for you? Subhanak. So how does a person work on his focus? And that's very broad. Because it depends on why he doesn't have focus. Maybe he can take a nap. Or maybe he needs to splash his face. Or maybe he's an unfocused person. It's not the fasting. So I don't find it easy to say more than what I just said now. Ameen wa fikum. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.